She had millions in the bank, a luxury car, and a life straight out of a magazine. But when her Bentley broke down on a snowy road, it wasn't money that saved her. It was a poor farmer with nothing to offer but kindness. What happened next? You won't believe how one unexpected encounter changed both their lives forever. Let's dip in the story. Samantha Blake had it all: money, power, and the kind of lifestyle that most people only ever saw in movies. She was the CEO of a high-end fashion empire, graced the covers of luxury magazines, and was known in every elite circle in New York City. Her penthouse apartment overlooked Central Park. Her closet was a treasure trove of designer labels, and her days were a blur of high-stakes meetings, exclusive launch parties, and flashing paparazzi cameras. To the outside world, Samantha was untouchable, a picture of perfection and success. But sometimes, even the most carefully built lives can take an unexpected turn. On a crisp winter morning, Samantha was on her way to a remote countryside estate where she planned to finalize a luxury real estate deal. She had decided to drive herself, a rare decision, but she needed a break from drivers and assistants buzzing around her. Her sleek black Bentley glided through winding country roads, its polished frame reflecting the snow-dusted trees lining the path. The world outside was silent, coated in a fresh layer of snow. It felt oddly peaceful, too peaceful even. Samantha glanced at her phone. No bars. Her GPS started glitching. The screen froze, then turned black. She frowned. "Great," she muttered. "Of all the days." Before she could process the situation, the Bentley gave a sudden, sputtering cough. The engine light blinked red, and with one last jolt, the car slowed to a dead stop. Silence took over. The heater turned off, and the only sound was the gentle whisper of snowflakes landing on the windshield. Samantha blinked in disbelief. No, 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 no. She tried the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. She slammed her manicured hand against the steering wheel in frustration. Her breath formed mist in the air. It was already getting cold. Reluctantly, she stepped out of the car, wrapping her beige trench coat tightly around her. Her designer boots crunched against the icy ground. The wind bit at her cheeks, and she pulled her scarf tighter as she looked around. Nothing but trees. No houses. No stores. No traffic. Just an endless, frozen road and a wall of silent forest. Her phone was still useless. No service, no maps, not even a blinking cursor to guide her. She glanced back at her car, now looking more like a trapped beast than the luxurious symbol it once was. For the first time in years, Samantha Blake, the woman who always had a plan, felt helpless. "I can't believe this is happening," she muttered to herself. But what Samantha didn't know was that this quiet, isolated moment wasn't the end of her day. It was the beginning of a story she never saw coming. Because sometimes when life breaks down, it's only clearing the road for something unexpected and beautiful to begin. Just as Samantha was about to take her first miserable step down the endless, icy road in 4-inch heels, she heard something, distant but distinct. A low rumble, slow and steady, cutting through the stillness of the snowy countryside. She turned, squinting through the gentle flurry. Emerging from a mist like a figure from another era was an old red tractor, its massive tires crunching over the frozen path. It chugged closer, the engine puffing like a dragon in the cold. Perched behind a wheel was a man, broad-shouldered, rugged, and wrapped in a thick flannel jacket with the sleeves rolled just high enough to show weathered forearms. His jeans were worn, dusted with frost, and his boots carried the weight of hard work. He brought the tractor to a slow stop beside her Bentley and hopped down. Despite the chill, his movements were calm and unhurried, almost like he was used to rescuing people stranded in the middle of nowhere. "You all right, miss?" he asked, brushing snow from his jacket collar as he approached. Samantha crossed her arms, her breath fogging in front of her face. She glanced at the snowflakes clinging to her coat, the mud beginning to spot her Italian leather boots, and the frost creeping across her luxury car's windshield. Her frustration boiled over. "Do I look all right to you?" she snapped. "My car just died in the middle of nowhere, and I have an investor call in less than an hour." This is a Bentley, not some old pickup. I need help, not a tractor. The man didn't flinch. He studied her for a moment, not judging, just observing. Then he nodded toward the road. Well, he said in a patient tone, there's no garage for at least 15 miles, and cell signal's patchy at best out here. But I got a shed full of tools and a heater about a mile back. I could tow the car, take a look, see if we can get it running. Samantha blinked. Her instincts screamed city caution. Don't trust strangers, especially ones who offer help in the middle of nowhere. But something about this man, his voice, his eyes, felt steady, grounded. And you are? She asked, narrowing her eyes. Jack Miller, he replied, offering a half smile. I run the farm just up the road. Been here all my life. She sighed, considering her options. Wait in the freezing cold for someone to maybe drive by in the next few hours, or trust a flannel-wearing stranger with her $200,000 car. Fine, she muttered, pulling her coat tighter. But if you scratch the paint, you're paying for it. Jack chuckled as he turned toward the tractor. Noted, ma'am. I'll treat her like a queen. Samantha followed him with a mix of doubt and curiosity. She had no idea that Jack Miller wasn't just going to fix her car, but that he was about to challenge everything she thought she knew about life, success, and love. Jack's farmhouse wasn't what Samantha expected, not even close. From the outside, it looked modest, even weathered by years of wind and snow. The white paint had faded, the porch creaked under her heels, and the windows were frosted with a thin layer of ice. But the moment Jack opened the door and she stepped inside, the air wrapped around her like a warm blanket. It smelled like cinnamon, firewood, and fresh-baked bread, comforting scents that instantly took her somewhere far from boardrooms and deadlines. The living room had a lived-in charm. A stone fireplace crackled softly in the corner. Worn furniture was neatly arranged, covered in hand-stitched quilts. The wooden floor bore the marks of time, but it was spotless. On the mantel were family photos in mismatched frames. Samantha's eyes landed on one in particular, a picture of a beaming little girl with golden curls and bright eyes. This your daughter? She asked, her voice softer than before. Jack glanced over, his expression shifting. Yeah, Lily, he said with a fond smile. She's 7, smart as a whip. Lost her mom 2 years ago. Samantha's heart pinched at his words. The room suddenly felt heavier, more fragile. I'm sorry, she said, truly meaning it. Jack nodded quietly. Thanks. It's been a journey. As he headed out to the barn to work on her car, Samantha stayed inside. She wandered briefly, her fingers tracing the old wooden furniture, the photos, the little handprints painted on the kitchen wall. Then, she found herself in front of the fireplace, sinking into a cushioned chair. Outside, snow continued to fall. But in here, it was peaceful. For the first time in what felt like years, her phone wasn't buzzing, nobody was demanding her attention, and there were no screens to distract her. Just the gentle crackle of fire and the occasional creak of old floorboards. She didn't realize how much she had missed this stillness, presence, peace. Hours passed before Jack returned, snow dusting his shoulders. I patched the fuel line and jump-started the battery, he said. She should get you home. Thank you, she said, standing up. I owe you. You hungry? Jack interrupted with a grin. I've got stew on the stove. Not exactly gourmet, but it's hot. Moments later, they sat at his small wooden table, steam rising from their bowls. The stew was thick, hearty, and full of vegetables from his own farm. Samantha took a bite. Honestly, it's better than most 5-star meals in the city. Jack laughed. Don't let your chef friends hear that. As they ate, the conversation flowed easily, surprisingly so. They talked about their lives, their struggles, and the different worlds they came from. Samantha told him about the pressure of success. Jack shared stories about farming and raising Lily on his own. And somewhere between those warm bites and shared laughter, the space between them seemed to disappear. In that quiet kitchen, under flickering light, 2 very different people started to feel strangely understood. By morning, Jack had done what he promised. Her Bentley sat in the driveway, its engine humming smoothly, windshield cleared of snow. Samantha stood beside it, suitcase in hand, hair neatly tied, but something about her felt unsettled. She should have been relieved, grateful even. The crisis was over, and she could return to her world of glass towers and glossy magazine covers. But her heart didn't feel like celebrating. Instead, it felt heavier than when she'd arrived. Jack handed her the keys. "Should be good to go. Just keep an eye on the fuel line. Might need a proper mechanic to take a look once you're back in the city." She took the keys but didn't move. There was a silence between them. Not awkward, but charged with something unspoken. She looked at him, then really looked at him. His hands were stained with grease, his eyes tired but kind. He wasn't polished or perfect, but he had given her something more valuable than anyone in her world ever had: sincerity. "Why didn't you ask me for anything?" she asked quietly. "You knew I had money. You could have asked for a reward, a favor, something." Most people would have. Jack shrugged with a small smile. "Because kindness doesn't come with a price tag. You needed help. That was enough." The words struck her like a soft but undeniable wave. In her world, everything had a transaction: favors traded for influence, compliments given for benefit. But this was different. She drove off that morning, back through the snow-covered trees, the winding roads, and finally onto the highway that led back to her gleaming city. But the further she got from the farmhouse, the more distant her life began to feel. In the days that followed, she found herself zoning out during board meetings. Her penthouse, once a symbol of pride, now felt cold and empty. She stared at her fridge full of overpriced produce and thought about Jack's stew. She scrolled through social media, surrounded by digital noise, and remembered the peaceful crackle of his fireplace. But most of all, she couldn't stop thinking about Jack and Lily. 2 weeks later, Samantha made a decision that shocked even herself. She returned, not with diamonds or checks or some condescending offer of charity, but with a vision. Jack was in the fields when she arrived, his hands deep in the soil. He looked up, surprised, as her Bentley rolled into the driveway once more. "You're back," he said, dusting off his hands. "I am," she replied, stepping out with a folder in hand. "You grow amazing produce. I know people in the city, people who want exactly this. Organic, fresh, and straight from the farm. What if we partnered up? Built something real. Farm-to-table deliveries. Weekly subscriptions. City meets soil." Jack blinked in disbelief, then let out a small laugh. "You serious?" Samantha nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. "Dead serious." And just like that, a new seed was planted, one that would grow into something neither of them ever expected. In just 6 months, what started as a chance encounter on a snowy road transformed into something no one could have predicted. Samantha and Jack's unlikely partnership bloomed into a thriving business and a beautiful new beginning. They called it Heartland Fresh, a name that captured both the wholesome quality of Jack's produce and the sincerity behind their mission. With Samantha's knowledge of branding, logistics, and high-end marketing, and Jack's dedication to clean, honest farming, the company quickly gained traction. At first, it was just a few crates of vegetables sent to Samantha's city contacts. But within weeks, word spread. Luxury apartment complexes began requesting weekly deliveries. Influencers posted unboxings of the farm-fresh eggs, hand-picked herbs, and perfectly imperfect vegetables. Restaurant called. News outlets noticed. Suddenly, farm-to-table wasn't just a trend. It was a movement, and Heartland Fresh was leading it. But while the business was booming, something far deeper was growing between Jack and Samantha. At first, their days were long and filled with the usual chaos of starting a company. Mornings began with Jack in the fields and Samantha managing operations from a small office they'd built in the barn. Evenings were often spent reviewing orders while Lily colored at the kitchen table. As time passed, the lines between business partners and something more began to blur. Samantha started spending more nights at the farmhouse than her penthouse. She traded high heels for muddy boots, swapped cappuccinos for fresh milk, and learned how to gather eggs without terrifying the chickens. The shift wasn't instant, but it was genuine. She laughed more, slept better, felt lighter, and Lily, sweet, spirited Lily, became the heart of it all. She started calling Samantha Sammy, tugging her hand to show her drawings, or asking her to braid her hair before school. One night, as Jack was washing dishes and Samantha helped Lily with her homework. Lily looked up and said innocently, "Are you going to stay forever?" There was silence for a beat. Then Samantha looked at Jack. He smiled, not with surprise, but with quiet hope. That's when she knew this wasn't just a chapter. This was home. The city didn't disappear. It was still a part of her, part of who she was. But she no longer belonged only to that world. She belonged here too, in the stillness of the fields, in the warmth of Jack's smile, and in the tiny, fearless voice of a child who had opened her heart without even trying. In the end, Heartland Fresh wasn't just a business venture. It was a story of second chances, of finding purpose in unexpected places, of letting go of perfection and embracing what's real. And all of it, every laugh, every lesson, every moment of love, began with something as simple as a broken-down Bentley on a snowy rural road. Because sometimes the wrong turn leads you exactly where you're meant to be. Sometimes the richest moments in life come from the most unexpected places. Samantha didn't just find help that day. She found purpose, love, and a whole new beginning. If you believe in second chances, in kindness, and in stories that warm the heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more just like this. Because the next life-changing story could be yours.